Assalamu alaykum, my beloved brothers and sisters. Welcome back to Sages of Islam. Today I'm going to share with you the extraordinary story of a woman who revolutionized the very concept of divine love and transformed Islamic spirituality forever. A former slave who became the mother of Sufism, a mystic whose poetry still moves hearts 1300 years later. We're talking about pure devotion, unconditional love for Allah, and a spiritual revolution that changed how Muslims understand their relationship with the divine. Let me introduce you to Rabia al-Adawiyya, the saint of Basra, who taught the world what it truly means to love Allah. But who was this remarkable woman? How did she transform from slavery to sainthood? And why do Sufi masters across centuries still study her teachings about divine love? Stay until the end because I'm going to reveal how Rabia's concept of pure love without expectation of reward or fear of punishment became the foundation of mystical Islam. Her spiritual insights will absolutely transform your understanding of faith. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more incredible stories of Islamic heritage. Rabia al-Adawiyya was born around 714 AD in Basra, in present-day Iraq, during one of the most turbulent periods in Islamic history. Her family was desperately poor, and when famine struck the region, young Rabia was sold into slavery. Imagine the heartbreak, a small girl torn from her family, forced into servitude, with no hope of freedom. But here's where her story becomes absolutely miraculous. Even in the depths of slavery, Rabia's heart burned with an unquenchable love for Allah that would eventually light up the entire Islamic world. Her master noticed something extraordinary about this young slave girl. Every night, after completing her daily chores, Rabia would spend hours in prayer and meditation. He would spy on her and witness something that terrified and amazed him. A divine light would descend and illuminate her entire being as she prayed. One night, he heard her speaking to Allah with such intimacy and passion that he realized he was in the presence of a true saint. The next morning he freed her immediately, recognizing that keeping such a blessed soul in bondage would bring divine displeasure upon his house. Now free, Rabia retreated to the desert outside Basra, choosing a life of extreme asceticism and devotion. But here's what makes Rabia absolutely revolutionary. She didn't just practice regular Islamic worship, she completely redefined the very motivation behind worship itself. Before Rabia, most people worshipped Allah either from fear of hellfire or hope for paradise. Rabia declared this approach fundamentally flawed. She taught that true worship should spring from pure love alone, with no expectation of reward and no fear of punishment. Her famous prayer captures this perfectly. O Allah, if I worship you from fear of hell, burn me in hell. If I worship you from hope of paradise, exclude me from paradise. But if I worship you for your own sake, then do not withhold from me your eternal beauty. This wasn't just poetry, this was a complete spiritual revolution. Rabia established what scholars call disinterested love, or hubb li-dhatihi, love for Allah's essence alone. This concept became the cornerstone of all Sufi mysticism that followed. Every major Sufi master, from Al-Hallaj to Rumi to Ibn Arabi, built their teachings on foundations Rabia had laid. But Rabia's influence wasn't limited to abstract theology. She lived her teachings with breathtaking authenticity. Stories of her miracles and spiritual states spread throughout the Islamic world. Once she was seen carrying fire in one hand and water in the other. When asked why, she replied, "I want to burn paradise and extinguish hell, so that people worship Allah purely for His love, not from fear or hope." Another time, during Hajj pilgrimage, she arrived at the Kaaba to find it had come out to meet her halfway. When other pilgrims asked how this was possible, she explained that they were seeking the house, but the Lord of the house was seeking her. These weren't just miracle stories, they were teaching moments that illustrated her core message. When your love for Allah becomes pure and total, the entire universe responds to your spiritual state. Rabia's poetry and sayings became treasured throughout the Islamic world. Her verses about divine love were memorized by scholars and common people alike. She wrote, "My love for you has occupied my heart completely, leaving no room for love of this world or fear of the next. If I could choose between seeing you and entering paradise, I would choose seeing you, for you are better than everything you have created." This wasn't just beautiful language, this was mystical theology that redefined Islamic spirituality. Her influence on Islamic culture was immediate and lasting. Male scholars, despite the patriarchal norms of 8th century society, traveled from across the Muslim world to sit at her feet and learn from her wisdom. The great Sufi master Hassan al-Basri, one of the most respected religious authorities of his time, publicly acknowledged her spiritual superiority and sought her guidance on matters of faith. This was unprecedented, a former slave girl teaching the religious elite about the deepest mysteries of divine love. Rabia's approach to prayer and remembrance of Allah also revolutionized Islamic practice. She emphasized quality over quantity, intimacy over formality. While others performed lengthy ritual prayers, Rabia would spend entire nights in simple conversation with Allah, treating the divine as her beloved friend and companion. She popularized what became known as khalwa, spiritual retreat and solitary communion with Allah. This practice became central to Sufi training methods worldwide. Her teachings spread rapidly throughout the Islamic world. Students carried her sayings and methods to Spain, North Africa, Central Asia, and India. Medieval Islamic scholars like Al-Qushayri, As-Sulami, and Attar all devoted chapters of their works to preserving and explaining Rabia's teachings. European Orientalists in the 19th and 20th centuries were stunned to discover this remarkable female mystic whose spiritual insights rivaled any male saint in history. But here's what's truly extraordinary about Rabia. She didn't just influence Sufism, she influenced all of Islamic spirituality. Her emphasis on pure intention, sincere love, and direct personal relationship with Allah became incorporated into mainstream Islamic thought. Even scholars who weren't technically Sufis adopted her insights about the purification of motivation in worship. Modern Islamic psychology and spiritual counseling still uses principles Rabia established. Her understanding that true spiritual health comes from authentic love rather than fear-based compliance has influenced contemporary approaches to Islamic education and personal development. Therapists working with Muslims often refer to Rabia's teachings about unconditional divine love as a source of healing for those struggling with religious anxiety or perfectionism. Today, Rabia's tomb in Basra remains a pilgrimage site for Muslims seeking spiritual inspiration. Her poetry is recited in Sufi gatherings worldwide. Universities across the globe offer courses studying her contributions to mystical theology. Feminist scholars recognize her as one of history's most influential female religious figures, while traditionalist Muslims honor her as a perfect example of Islamic piety and devotion. So what can we learn from Rabia al-Adawiyya's extraordinary life and teachings? First, authentic spirituality transcends social status. She proved that divine proximity depends on the purity of heart, not worldly position or formal education. Second, true worship must be motivated by love, not fear. Her teachings show that relationship with Allah should be based on appreciation of His beauty and perfection, not calculation of reward and punishment. Third, women can be spiritual leaders and teachers. Rabia shattered gender barriers through the sheer force of her spiritual realization, earning respect from male scholars who recognized divine wisdom wherever it appeared. Finally, simplicity and devotion often surpasses complexity. Her direct, heartfelt approach to Allah became more influential than elaborate theological systems, proving that sincerity matters more than sophistication. In our modern world, where many people struggle with authentic spiritual connection, Rabia's example is more relevant than ever. She shows us that true faith comes from the heart, that divine love can transform any circumstance, and that the most profound spiritual insights often come from the most unexpected sources. What moves you most about Rabia al-Adawiyya? Her journey from slavery to sainthood? Her revolutionary teachings about divine love? Her influence on Islamic mysticism? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you found Rabia's story inspiring, you'll love my video on Al-Hallaj, another revolutionary Sufi mystic. And don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell for more amazing stories from Islamic history. Coming next, I'll be exploring another incredible figure whose spiritual insights will absolutely transform your perspective on faith and devotion. Until then, may Allah's love fill your hearts as it filled Rabia's. Barakallahu fikum.